Well, hell. Welcome back to Tech Travel and Twang. Well, hey there. Welcome back to Tech Travel and Twang with our Tuesday tea. I'm Jen Barbie with my co-host Kristen Cruz. Good morning, Kristen.
Good morning, Jen.
How's the start of your week? How was your weekend?
Well, it's officially July, so that's fun. The very middle of one of the hottest summers. Well, we can't really say that anymore. Hottest summers on record. It really isn't a thing. It's just hot in the summer. Yeah, but weekend was good. How was yours?
My weekend was good. I did a little background office rearranging. So, every now and then the kids are about to go back to school because over here in Arizona, they start July 17th, which is crazy. So this is back to school month for us. So little spring cleaning, summer cleaning, preschool cleaning. I decided to do a little refreshing. So my weekend was great. A little sore because Mama doesn't usually do that much activity, but
Yeah,
it
I
feels
hear
great. It's
you.
kind of like the first day of school with my new setup too.
Right? I love that feeling. That house refresh feeling where you're sitting in a clean house and everything smells good and things are
Mhm.
where they're supposed to be because you know it's for a very limited time.
Yeah, and I'm a big upcycler too. Like everything I did to rearrange, like even my wallpaper back here is upcycled from a strip I used someplace else. Like it was
Yeah.
just fun to kind of hunt through the house and find little treasures to put together this and, refresh the kids' room. So that was fun. But then again, I love doing the interior design stuff.
I know. I remember so many years ago coming over to your house. And you were always in the middle of some insane project. Like, I'm going to cover all of these couches with this new fabric I just bought. I bought 100,000 yards of this fabric. And you would literally like turn couches over and like refabric and get your
Heck
staple
yeah.
gun. You were insane.
It's all
And I
because that's when design shows started coming on TV about the time I got my own, like, out of
that
my own
Trading
hair.
Spaces show, I think, was on at that time where
Faces
neighbors.
Christopher Lowell. Christopher Lowell, the seven principles of design. Come on. Yes.
Oh my goodness. It's so funny because I remember during that time frame too, I thought I was the coolest person ever because I had bought this huge HGTV design book, which I still have, by the way, somewhere in this house. Anyway, and several years later, I looked at it again. I'm like, what were we thinking?
We put too much in
It's
there. Like the
terrible.
Christopher Lowell book says, you only need 18 inches to pass through a room. And I did that, and Drew would have to like sideways through the room because I had the furniture so close. But yeah, no,
I
it's
love
fun. Every day I don't do that so often anymore, but it's a lot of fun every now and then. So I was like in the girls' room, I'm like, what's your vibe? Like, how do you want to feel when you go to sleep?
love
When you do
that. Yeah.
schoolwork? So I don't want to say it's feng shui. We Jen shuied the rooms just based on how they want to use them from a utilitarian standpoint too.
Yeah. Well, that and I feel like it's like a refresh for creative space,
Hmm.
like just you have this like new space, new vibe, and it's like, okay, I'm thinking differently. I have new ideas that I didn't have, but like it does create some real creativity when you're in a new space like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Talking about new ideas, did you watch that commercial for Oslo I sent to you?
I did. I thought it
Thoughts?
was obviously very brilliant in the way they put it together, but it's very like quietly brilliant. Like at first you're like, what are they trying to tell me? Like what and also what is this about? Like you have to ease into it and then you realize, especially like with our profession, I think we probably quickly realized what it was doing. But
That
yes, I
very
love
dry European humor, though.
it.
Like it is a slow burn.
And people say that they're not like funny. Like I was like laughing my butt off. I'm like, this is especially where he's talking about like the cultural side of it. And there's like this like in the Mona Lisa and whatnot. And there's like this like incredible, like, isn't that one of the most historic paintings like right behind him?
Yeah, he's like, it's not the
The
Mona
same.
Lisa.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for those listening,
Good.
maybe just not knowing, so it just went viral. Oslo Tourism Oslo did a commercial, which is basically one of the kind of follows our trend on this whole anti-brand, nothing to see here, no reason to come here. And it was really smart because, and they took a local person, like 31 years old, and he's talking about, I grew up here, I'm temporarily living here, I don't know why people
Mhm.
would come, and it's very, like I said, dry humor, but very smart. So it went viral, and now there's a huge spike in Google searches for where is Oslo because obviously, we don't know our geography very well over here. So
Right. Well, there's so many countries and whatnot. There's a net in front of my face. So many countries over there that are sort of jam-packed. A lot of like popular destinations are very close to one another, whereas we sometimes, obviously over here, like we're sparsed out a bit. But yeah, I thought that was it there's very much a pattern to what we're seeing destinations tapping into. And for a lot of them, I feel like, especially the ones that are sort of stuck in this very long-lived perception of what their destination is and
Mhm.
who's there and what the vibe is like. It's hard to climb out of that without addressing it first. You kind of have to, because then it just looks like catfished marketing efforts. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all know that that's not what that looks like, or we all know that that's not the vibe. But at the same time, we don't know because a lot of us who assume have never been there. And so there's a lot of work to be done. And this whole anti-brand, anti-tourism vibe it feels like it's working. Like it feels like there's a lot of influx in those destinations that have played around with this over the last couple of years and are seeing some, especially in the media. Like the media is
Well,
really covering this.
I do think it pays off. And like you said, I'm glad you mentioned the catfishing thing because if you do an anti brand, that has to still be a true statement, right? That still has to
Exactly.
be a current preconceived notion. We talked about Vegas a few episodes back, but if you think about them, they're like the originator of the anti brand. They went even further. Like, if we're going to be Sin City, we're going to be Sin City. So that even like
Mhm.
affected their destination development. So I'm curious to see how these brand campaigns, which are really just communication campaigns, how those are going to affect the product.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And also some of the ways in which those that are living, like your actual residents and those that live and work in those destinations, how that changes their perception of how they're interacting with new visitors coming in expecting, like and again,
Oh
first time,
wow.
right? Like this increases your first timers by an enormous amount of those that have never even visited. And so what does that interaction look like? It's definitely something to keep an eye on, and kind of see how that resonates and what that
Yeah, and
does
that
for those
first time,
destinations who.
well, we know the path too. You visit once,
Mhm.
especially if something with like, we really love to think that we've discovered something, maybe other people haven't. So there's that part of it too. Like, I'm going there that first time. If I have a good time, now I know a secret. Now I have my little secret place.
Yeah,
I might
right.
tell my friends, but I have some ownership in that tourism brand.
Mhm. Yep, I can see that.
I love it. I think they're brilliant. More anti brands. Let's go.
Yes, and they're so fun to like just, just in the ways that they get to be creative is really fun. One thing I saw last week too that I thought was really interesting was on Pinterest, which I've gotten back, but with doing more of like I'm in my little home project phase again, where I'm trying to dabble in projects around the house in all my spare time. I've been back on Pinterest and I noticed in some of the content that I was getting served up and then saw this again in one of my trending, when I get like all of the trending news and whatnot, that the quiet life, like the more calm travel, and the quote unquote quiet life type travel is really trending again on Pinterest. I think for those of us who, and just kind of thinking about it from my perspective too, like one of the things that we saw was the July 4th travel increase. And the way that it falls this year, obviously, is part of that because it falls on a Thursday. So people are naturally going to take Friday and we're going to make it a long weekend. Yeah, let's go somewhere, right?
Hmm.
But for those that need, like, I don't want to go someplace for my holiday weekend. Like, I want to stay where I'm at. Like, I want the quiet calmness of a relaxing long weekend, right? And
Yeah.
so, and there's a lot of that now that's extremely popular and very much needed because of the rise on these holiday weekends. Like it's going to be a record travel weekend. That does not sound appealing to me. So anyway, I saw that on Pinterest and thought about how that pertains to some of the summer travel and some of the campaigns and things that we're seeing kind of coming out and feeling like destinations need to be jumping on this bandwagon again and really pulling in things from their destinations that produce a more quieter trip. Like still come stay, but stay, right? Like enjoy these things that are in more of a quiet space. You know, the over tourism is huge in the media again, like places in Europe that people are typically would want to travel to. It's like, don't come. There's already too much, there's too much going on. Plan that for later. But there's a lot of domestic destinations here in the US that could really take advantage, I feel like. And I didn't see much. It was more like there's more demand and less destinations talking about.
I think that is it domestically. Like there is the demand there, and destinations, I don't think they've quite gotten their mind around these niche
Mhm.
uprisings because they come so fast. I was talking to a DMO from the Northeast last week too, and she had not really heard of astrotourism, like
Mm,
going where there's not sky pollution to be able to actually see the stars. Like
right.
there are a lot of these. I don't think they know exactly like what to do and how to move those along because they're not
Yeah.
tour operators, they're
Right.
destinations. So
Yeah.
packaging it, there's still that like gap of packaging and experience versus what you can do as a destination.
Right.
But yeah, I'm glad you
But like
mentioned
we
Fourth of
always say,
July.
well, I was
Mhm.
going to say too, like we say, every place is a destination, right? Like every place within your destination is also a destination.
Right,
And
right.
so we can,
Think about tourism like your GPS. If you're going somewhere, going to the
right.
grocery store, that's your destination. And what's that destination experience look like?
Yep. Especially for those of us that don't want to go a bunch of places. Like
Mhm.
I used to be such a different traveler. I feel like I used to need a schedule. I used to need to have things planned out, know where I was going to be. Did we get tickets ahead of time? You know, do we need to get there early? Like just have a game plan.
And then you
And
came back and needed a vacation from your vacation, didn't you?
absolutely. Like
Yep.
that whole chapter of my life, I feel like I needed a vacation. And so I was like, I can't be this structured, like schedule mom anymore. Like I have to just like let some of that go because I'm going to drive myself crazy. And also, I was not enjoying my experiences. Like it's not a joyous feeling when you're constantly referring to an itinerary or stressing about how that experience is going to go because you didn't plan it good enough. So, yeah, I feel like there's a huge generation of us that are like, I don't want to follow that schedule. I don't want to have that itinerary. I want to know that I'm going to go someplace that has these things for me to do, but I want this experience. I don't want a series of experiences. I want to really
Yeah, I
focus on this.
wonder if we're not allowing then some of that planning or that discovery time for our travelers. I know too from a content perspective, like that is crank out another itinerary, crank out another blog, crank out another thing. Is that contributing to the stress of coming to that destination instead of actually helping?
Well, I think you have to think about it in two ways. Like you still have your itinerary groups, right? You still have your visitors who are like, give me ideas of things to do. And
Yeah.
also map out what kind of those that go into the destination and they're at a restaurant, right? And they're like, okay, well, what should I order? Well, what's the best thing? You tell me, like you give me an idea and I'm gonna order that thing.
Hmm.
Um, those guys they want to be served that itinerary because they want to experience the destination in the best way possible and they feel like you're the resource, right? So you tell me what I should be doing. But
Yeah.
you also have those of us who don't necessarily, maybe an idea or two, not necessarily in an itinerary format, but here's the types of,
Inspiration. Hmm.
yeah, yeah, more inspo than anything. That way it's and more detail. Like if I could go to one place and I could spend an entire afternoon or even an entire day in that one place because there's all of these things to choose from, I'd rather go there than go to four different places with four different experiences. Just because it seems less stressful for me.
I think that's why, of course, obviously, like why Disney does so well, but also like down to the reality of destination by destination, those mixed use retails do so well
They do
because
so
you
well.
can
And that's
hang out
why
there.
downtowns, I think, are doing a lot better.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
could just walk through a downtown and you can like you happen upon a record store. You happen upon this cute little vintage bookstore. You happen upon this little like mom and pop shop that where you're the only one shopping and you have this like one-to-one experience with the owner and you get to hear about some of the like that I feel like that's the quiet travel, right? Like I just want to go and just be with myself and explore and not necessarily be outdoors climbing mountains. You know what I mean? Like there's a different vibe, but it's definitely on the rise. Like this is a big thing. And I think that's going to lead into the fall and holiday travel too.
No, I think so. I mean, honestly, let's just be real honest about our stress levels and our whatever. And one of the things I'd written down was, I don't know if you heard this or not, but the $5 meal deal is the new dollar menu. Like, like it's
Not
so I do see
Not
that.
the burgers in a bag at Brahms, which I can't stand. I have to just say this really quick because this is the most disgusting thing. So Brahms has this thing where you can buy a bag of burgers, okay? And it's on the menu, bag of burgers. And I'm like, who goes and buys just a bag of burgers? It sounds like the most disgusting thing in the world. But anyways, carry on.
I imagine Bubba's taking them back and freezing those suckers.
I'm just like unsure why is that a menu thing or why is that appealing to anybody and why put it on the marquee? Like that is your marquee item is the bag of burgers. I don't get it.
Uh, so we digress. Anyway, off of what you're saying about like where we're going mindset travel wise, I think we discussed this a little bit last week, but TripAdvisor is opening up a lot of their advertising components to CPG companies because really travel is now like a state of mind in people. It's not like
Mhm.
they're constantly looking at travel, constantly planning their next trip, constantly dreaming of the next thing. So those consumer product goods are saying, how do we get in front of travelers? Because also travelers are happier. 46% of them recall advertising versus 26% in non-travelers. Like it is really that travel state of mind is a joyful, peaceful state of mind. Now everybody else wants in on it.
It is. And also, I think, and there was a study done on this, but there was a huge percentage of difference between the happiness and the stress levels of people who had a trip planned, like
Mhm.
on at some point in the near future, had a trip planned, and those that did not. And those that had something to look forward to, vacation or trip wise, even if it was a short
Yeah.
trip, were a lot less stressed and a lot happier people. And so when we go on like a trip, like it may be a long weekend or whatever, but I'm looking at what the next place is while I'm on that trip. Like I'm already like, hey, this is fun. What if we did
That
this
sounds
next?
like an extra stress level too, though.
Because one travel's inspiring, right? Like it
Yeah.
inspires you, like, oh, it would be fun to do this next time, since we did this time or whatever. But it is that there is a serious checkbox in my brain for sure, where if I have something anticipated, like something to look forward to travel wise, I am just a much better person in general. I'm much happier, much more productive. I'm better to be
Yeah.
around, and I think that's that way for a lot of people. It's just and it puts you in that state of mind, like, right, like you feel like you have something to look forward to, but you have an experience that you're anticipating that you haven't done before, or maybe you have but you're going to do it differently, and that's
Mhm.
just a state of mind that I think is very joyful for people.
Well, I think too, I think people are also like just from a fiscal standpoint, right? They're continuing to want to invest in experiences, especially as we get younger in the generations, those experiences mean
Mhm.
more because they don't own a damn home. It doesn't look like they might ever. Like,
Right.
the homebody corner of it also is shifting. Like we just have to live life wherever we can and get the joy we can. And I think that's
Right.
where the Gen Zs are taking 5 and 6 trips minimum a year. They're spending 30% of their income on travel. Like
Yeah.
that's a priority. That's like house budget.
It is. It really is. But I did see something else I did see trend wise was that Travel Age put out a study that said travelers are wanting to, well, they're preferring driving over flying. Like we're back in that where the majority of us as a US, this is US stats, would prefer to drive over fly. But secondary to that, it's because travelers want to keep traveling. So they have to cut budget somewhere, right? To keep doing the amount of travel they want to do with the inflation and economic uncertainty and all the things that we're dealing with right now as a
Yeah.
nation. Um, so they're driving instead of flying because ultimately it's cheaper. You know, gas isn't insanely crazy right now. I'm sure it will be by the end of summer, but they're also willing to risk a few things. They want to spend more on experiences, but they're gonna that journey from point A to point B, they're willing to just let's get in the car and drive so we can have money when we get there, right? We have income when we get there to really do
Hmm.
that travel, do that experience. And so they're willing to cut some corners, it's looking like. And that's it. Again, with inflation and just what we look like now compared to even 21, 22, I have seen so many of these content creators doing things like purchasing the exact same shopping cart of groceries, right? That
Did you
they did
see
in
that? I saw that this weekend. It was like 120 and now it's 414, the same
Girl. And it's
amount of
so true.
groceries.
I went back and I was like, wait, let me go back to my like Kroger pickup app. And I would like do the, and I'm like, OMG, just 2 years difference. And that's, I mean, it's summer. We got kids at home. Food is expensive. Like, let's drive instead of fly. Let's just go somewhere. So that is what people are thinking about right
I'm
now. It's crazy.
thinking too with the road trip versus air travel too, you're more connected. So I wonder how many of this are affected by people taking quiet vacations and not time off of work, but they're getting it in, right? So
Uh,
if you're
Absolutely.
driving, you've got a little more control over, okay, I need to do my meetings, I need to do whatever. Because I think people are they're getting it in, but this summer it's also they're trying to keep up with their business, keep up with their work and get the vacation in and the work in.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that was attributed to like some of the July 4th stats was because we are such a remote um civilization at this
Mhm.
point. It did impact the long weekend travel. I mean, that's why we're at a record number of people going for a long weekend because they can't, you're not stuck to an office and having to come back to an office on Friday.
Yeah, and a long weekend is not like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday anymore because I saw this too this weekend. It was like,
Mm-mm.
why have weekends now become the 30-minute lunch break? Right?
Right, right.
Because it's just over with. So, a 3 day really is more like if you really wanted, it's more like a 4 day now. So a Thursday, Friday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because you got to get to wherever you're going and you got to get home, right? So, but it is definitely following all the patterns that we've been speaking to and hearing, which is we're all willing to take longer if we can get ahead of them longer weekends in lieu of a week or two vacation that a lot of us have trouble taking. It's really difficult to get away for a week or 2 weeks, and not get crazy behind where you come back and you need a vacation from your vacation.
Mm-hmm.
So give me all the long weekends.
For sure, for sure. So on our tea part, did you also see, speaking of like pop culture and affecting people's homes, did you see people are paying people to stylize the inside of their refrigerators like Bridgerton?
Oh, wait, what?
That's my random pop culture of today. So people
Wait.
are literally taking everything out of their refrigerator. They're buying fancy antiques. They're recanting their milk. They're putting blueberries open in like little bowls in their fridge, and they have picture frames with like ancestors in there. It's a whole thing.
I have not seen that. Now, I follow this like crazy organization group of people who organize, like do a really good job organizing their fridges and like everything's like stylized from that perspective, but I had not seen the Bridgerton trends. Wait, but why though? Like why? That's insane.
It is, and I can't imagine. First off, your food's all going to spoil really damn fast because it's not actually closed or canted. It just seems it seems silly, but yeah, that's a whole little viral trend going on TikTok is, redesigning your inside of your refrigerator.
Huh. I have long, long, long wanted to redesign the inside of my refrigerator just from a cleanliness organization standpoint. But I have put that out until I have no more kids in the house because every time I try to do something organizationally in there, it just gets screwed up.
You get
Like,
half a string cheese back in the fridge.
what in the world? Or like stuff never goes back where it came from. It's like, let me get this milk out and let me pour, oh, let me put this back in a completely different spot. Or, same with like fruit. It's just a mess. So no, I'm not even going to attempt that for the next, I'll probably wait another 5, 10 years.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with that too. My interior design bug does not extend to the inside of the refrigerator or the inside of the cabinets or the inside of the dishwasher, whatever happens in there, I don't
Only
know.
what can be seen. This is exactly like what I tell Alicia when she's cleaning her room. I'm like, your trend is you only clean the things that can be seen. If I can't see it inside of drawers, cabinets, your closet under your bed, it's not going to be clean. This is just what we know. She's only cleaning things that are visible to the eye when you walk in. Like, all that looks great.
That's funny.
Oh,
That's funny. But no, yeah, the 4th of July is supposed to be the largest in history. So also long line, I mean, maybe a frustrating one too for people. Maybe some long lines, may have to have some patience, but you got a long
yeah.
weekend, 4 days.
Yeah, and it is the summer. I mean, this is also our summer on record, like our boom travel summer.
Hmm.
But they are saying that a lot of these same studies are saying that people are staying closer to home, like they're not traveling as far. Obviously, because we know that it's longer weekends and they can't stay. I mean, you're not gonna travel
Across the country
to,
for a long
yeah,
weekend.
for a long weekend. You're not doing that. And obviously the costs that associate with going further from home. But
Mhm.
yeah, but it still is, it's crazy that we're again cutting corners, but we're still hitting record numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. But I think it's going to be a really good summer of travel, but also like I'm already thinking about fall. I mean, the fall
Oh
memes are
yeah.
already out. Christmas in
Oh
July
yeah.
thing is already out. Like I would really be thinking
I'm all right. Yeah,
seasonality wise about, fall and holidays at this point.
absolutely. I feel like a lot of us are there because summer has become such a brutal season weather-wise. Like we go straight from spring tsunami tornado weather into 100 plus degrees of heat and just oven temperatures here. And it's exhausting. Like nobody wants to be in that.
Oh, it's going to be cool here today. We're only a high of 103.
Ugh.
But that's like a break
That's
for
cool for
us.
y'all. I think we're gonna probably hit one. We'll be in the 100s today, but it's just no, but summer travel. Yeah. So where can we go that's cooler, essentially? And planning for fall and holiday because of the temperatures and where we're
Hmm.
at in the summer. Like as cities and destinations, your fall and your holiday content should already be on point.
Ready to
Like
go.
get
Yes.
ready to go, accessible. All your fall events, your holiday events, and things that you know are coming back, and you have details. Get them on the radar, get them on the calendars, because people are using that.
Hmm.
To plan further and further ahead.
For sure, for sure. Awesome. So for wrapping up our Tuesday tea, plan for the fall holidays, take a look at the anti brands that are going out there, see if that makes sense for you guys, especially if you've got some preconceived notions about your brand. Leaning in can really help. 4th of July travel being huge. Travel state of mind is really kind of where people are now. So that's also another good
Mhm.
opportunity. We didn't hit on it, but I think it's also a good opportunity to think about as TripAdvisor is bringing in CPGs, destinations should really be looking at products that align with their brand, their vibe, and their visitors as partners and extra potential
Absolutely.
funding options.
Mhm.
Oh, that
That's
was a
great, especially for
mouthful.
destinations that have podcasts. Like that's a great like put your associated products somehow in your podcast. Like find
Mhm.
ways to collaborate. There's so much opportunity.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, have a great week, Kristen, and we'll spill the
You
tea next
too.
Tuesday after the holiday.